Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Kingdom Hearts channel. Today's video is all about Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, but this one's going to be a little bit different because we're going to be talking about the story of what happened in Union Cross. Those of you who are not aware, there's a brand new story update that involves Maleficent, the Master's plans, and of course, who kills Strelitzia. So expect these two to be a 1, 2, 3 part video. Instead of calling part 1 or part 2, it's going to be entitled, Let's Talk About This Particular Character or This Particular Event. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about Maleficent and her being in a certain world. So Maleficent made it out of this pod alive, and she was asking to herself if this is the real world, which Darkness appears and says yes, and congratulates her of making it out of this pod alive. However, this leads to another question of what Maleficent asked Darkness. Is this the original time that she was in? And apparently Darkness says no, because she is still in the past. The question is, which past? Is it the one from Birth by Sleep or the one from KH1? Either way, I may not be paying close attention, but this is exactly the reason why time travel in storylines is so confusing. But to get back to the story, Darkness told Maleficent that she just returned to the real world from the data one. And it made me wonder of what Darkness says has any relations to Recoded. And even if so, then that goes to show that Recoded ain't that weak, especially due to the fact that the data blocks have made its return to KH3. But I digress. So Maleficent asked Darkness, how will she return to her present time? And Darkness gave her the simplest answer that Darkness could ever said. Darkness says, you have to enter this pod, which of course shocked Maleficent. And it's like, what on earth? I just got into the pod and now I have to go back to the present time? This is just getting ridiculous. And that's what's going through the minds of Maleficent. She was like, I just got into the pod and now I got out of it and now I have to go back to head to my present time? This is just plain out ridiculous. But that is just what Maleficent's saying in her mind. And I'm just imagining of what she's saying in her mind because that's how she feels. Just like the rest of us, because time travels in video game storylines are very confusing. Anyways, Darkness told Maleficent that all she ever did before was to move between the data world and the real world and not travel through time. So yeah, there's your explanation by Darkness itself. So Maleficent asked Darkness, can you do both at the same time? Which is an obvious answer. However, we all know it's not that simple as we expected, because Darkness told Maleficent it's not quite that all-powerful. So I'm assuming Darkness was talking about this arc, and it's probably not powerful enough to do both at the same time. So yeah, this has become very confusing, but also, in my case, quite understandable. Because even though Maleficent said there has to be an obvious way, like doing both at the same time, however, it's not that simple as we think, especially if it's not all that powerful as it seems. So, in other words, it's just you have to do probably just one at a time. So the Darkness told Maleficent that these pods are to move through space and time to transport one into another world. So in other words, it's what I said before. You probably have to do this one at a time because doing both at the same time could be pretty messy. I may be overthinking things, I may be not. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. And I'm truly sorry for it. But one thing is for certain though. This kind of info by the Darkness itself will make your head hurt. And that is all I have to say about that. So Maleficent said, alright, I'll go back to the pod. But this time, I will go back to my present time. And then she offers Darkness to join her. However, Darkness says, you don't need Darkness anymore. Besides, I have some business here, which means only one thing. That business has something to do with Ventus, isn't it? Well, We're just going to have to wait and see, as the third video that'll be coming up in the future will be all about who kills Strelitzia. But for the time being, it looks like Maleficent is all alone at this point. Now, I just want to point out one more thing before I wrap up today's video. You notice in this image right here, right before this scene fades to black, you notice that darkness is taking shape as a human. But the question is who? Well, I do have the answer, but I am not going to say it right here. I'm going to say it in another video, which won't be until probably about the 8th of September. But as of right now, starting in September 7th, we're going to be discussing or talk about the Master of Masters plan, which is going to be in the next video. But as of right now, this is just one thing I wanted to point out because I find it very interesting that darkness can take shape as a human, as a person. And as of right now, things are starting to pick up really quickly. And I have a feeling this is not the last story update of Union Cross. I believe there's still more. It's just that we're waiting for more information. But as of right now, that is it for today's video. Please leave a like if you enjoy, and also subscribe to the Queen of Hearts channel, and I'll see you all in the next video.